morning! Welcome to day one of Tis the Seasonathon. It is Monday morning. It is the gloomiest day you can imagine. So gray and dark and raining off and on. Not even like a steady, solid rain. Just a gloomy, just enough to be miserable kind of rain. But I just started my first book of the readathon. So far so good. I'm only like half an hour into the audiobook. But it is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I don't know if you can see that. And I am listening to it on Scribd. I also have the ebook out on Libby through my library, so I can bounce back and forth between the two formats so that I can get through it more quickly. So far so good. I read Get a Life Chloe Brown earlier this year and loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Bought it and Take a Hint, Danny Brown for my birthday. So it's fulfilling the challenge, a book that I've been meaning to get to but haven't yet. And I'm really excited. So for those of you who don't know, Take a Hint, Danny Brown is the follow-up to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's about Chloe's sister, Danica. And she is a college professor who has this like flirty banter style relationship with Zaf, who works security for the university and staffs the security desk in the building where Chloe teaches her classes. And they have this like dynamic every morning on her way in. She brings him coffee, he gives her a protein bar. What we know so far is that Danny is looking for her next friends with benefits. Zaf can't possibly be a candidate because they are just friends and he's never shown any interest in her. He is an ex-rugby player, very gruff. Everybody else is very intimidated by him, but not Danny. And he has some sort of tragic backstory, we know, but we haven't learned any of the details yet. Secretly, he's obsessed with her. He loves Danny, but she has no idea. And from reading the synopsis of this book, I'm pretty sure this becomes a fake dating thing, which I am so here for. So here for. So that's it so far, 30 minutes in. I really would love to finish this book today. I do work today. I'm going to have to leave for work in 20-ish minutes, but I'm going to listen to my audiobook as much as I can today, and we'll see if I can bang it out, because I would love to finish one more book in November, and I'm gonna bring you guys along. Also, Zaf listens to romance audiobooks. Got home from work and I wanted to update you. I'm about 70% of the way into Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and I'm enjoying it. I love Danny as a character. I love Zaf as a character. I love their relationship together. It's adorable. It's very sweet and wholesome. My issue with this book currently is that I don't think it has the magic for me that Chloe Brown had, and I think it's because Chloe and Red each had their own plot lines, and they had their relationship plot line. So there was a lot going on. It was very multifaceted in a way that I feel like this one isn't. It's cute, and the whole like fake dating thing is an adorable jumping off point, but it isn't actually a plot. So there's not a whole lot happening besides them just being cute and Danny realizing that she is actually in love with him despite having this like no dating thing, which we were reminded of relentlessly, just like beaten over the head with it. I am enjoying it. Like, it's a very enjoyable experience. It's just a little like, I keep waiting for like the plot to drop, and I'm 70% of the way in, so I assume this is the plot. We'll see how it wraps up. I'm optimistic. It's Tuesday morning. I'm about to leave for work, and that is a wrap on Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I enjoyed it so much. I gave it 4 stars. I love Danny and her witchiness and her absolute determination not to conform and to do her own thing. But I also really felt for her because she's such a workaholic and she doesn't know how to have work-life balance at all. And she really grows through the course of the novel. I also was obsessed with Zafir. Zaf is this ex-rugby playing bear of a dude who everyone's intimidated by except for Danny, and he's actually a giant marshmallow. He reads romance novels. He teaches teenage boys that they can play sports, but they can also tap into their emotions, and it doesn't make them less masculine, and even if it did, who cares? And that it's just as important as physical health. I just loved Zaf. He was such a sweetie, and I loved his relationships with his family members, and just so good.
I loved their relationship too. It's super cute. I just wish there'd been a little bit more. So like I was saying last night, I just don't think this quite has the magic for me that Chloe Brown had, because it had a lot going on. It had the central plot of the two main characters having this, not really hate to love, but misunderstanding to love relationship, and them getting to know each other, becoming friendly, them becoming more than friendly. Meanwhile, they each have separate subplots, and there was just a lot going on in that book. And I felt like Danny didn't quite have so much meat to it. It was really just the two of them going from friendly to fake dating to really being in love with each other. And there wasn't a whole lot of actual plot. There was plenty of character development for the individuals, but not a lot of actual plot. So at times I was like, okay, let's get on with it. But that's all to say, like, I still loved it. And I gave it 4 stars. Very happy I finally read it. Next up for me is going to be the Read a Cozy Book Challenge. And today, December 1st, Forever Wild, the 3rd book, was actually a novella in the Simple Wild series released, and I pre-ordered it on Kindle, so I have it sitting on my phone right now, ready to be read. So because it is a novella, I'm hoping I can get through the whole thing today and knock off 2 of my challenges in the first 2 days of the readathon. That would be bomb. So that's it for now.
Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
Okay, so it is about 5:30. I've been home from work for about 5 minutes, and I just finished Forever Wild by K.A. Tucker. It was so sweet. It's a novella. There's not a ton of plot, but honestly, I'm impressed with how much story she really does pack into it, with it only being like 150, 160 pages. And if you love Calla and Jonah and the whole motley crew, it's a must read. I really don't want to spoil anything, but it's vital. So you do need to read it. Also, from about the 15% mark, I felt like we were building up to a spin-off about Marie, Jonah's sort of ex who was in love with Jonah. She's like a vet, I think, and this new guy in town who nobody likes because he's like competitive with some of the local businesses. Sure enough, I finished the novella, and the next page was, stay tuned for more of Trappers Crossing in Dr. Marie, whatever her last name is, story coming soon. Knew it. Okay, so that's it. I don't actually know what I'm going to read next. I'll have to look through my preemptive TBR, see what I feel like reading, and I'll probably get that started tomorrow. And I'll check in then and let you know what I'm doing.
Let me hold you real tight, 'cause it's Christmas time.
Hello, happy Wednesday. I'm attempting to film in my car on my way to work, but I haven't done this before, so we'll see if it works. I have had a busy morning because I had to go to urgent care. At 29 years old, I got an ear infection, something that I have not had since 1st grade, and didn't really know was something I needed to be concerned about in adulthood, but clearly I do. But it's all good. Of course, urgent care was in the parking lot with a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts, so I had to do that too. Now I'm on my way to work, and I wanted to update you about book 3. So I actually started a book last night in bed, and the convenient thing about going to urgent care is you do a lot of sitting around waiting, so I was able to read even more of my book just on my phone, and that book is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. So I'm about 20% of the way in now, I think. And 10 Blind Dates is about Sophia, who's a high school senior. It's winter break of her senior year, and she convinces her parents to let her stay home when they go to visit her older sister over the holidays, to stay with her grandmother, her Nona, and really she wants to spend that time privately with her boyfriend, Griffin. And she shows up at a party to surprise Griffin with the happy news that she gets to stay home over break. And of course he's not expecting her, and she overhears him telling his best friend how relieved he is that she's going away with her family over the holidays because he needs a break from her. He's thinking about breaking up with her because they should just be having fun and they got way too serious way too fast. And of course she overhears, and he realizes she overhears, and there's a big whole dramatic thing, and she's devastated. So she goes to stay with her Nonna like she was supposed to, and her whole extended family is there, and it's a big Italian Southern family. I'm not Italian, but my extended family all does live in the South, and I can very much relate to the big family gatherings and everyone being in everyone's business, and can relate for sure. So she's there with all of her extended family, and because she's so upset, they decide to cheer her up by setting her up on 10 blind dates over the course of winter break. Each family member gets to pick a guy, and he has to be around her age, and the date gets planned by the family member. She has no idea who the person is or what they're doing on the date until day of. So I think the dates are about to start happening where I am in the book. I'm very excited. So far, it's very cute. I like Sophie, and I like the writing style a lot. I've never read anything by Ashley Elston, so I will probably get the chance to read a little bit more today while I'm at work, or at least listen to the audiobook. I, again, have both the audiobook and the ebook format, so I can bounce back and forth and get through it a little bit more quickly. Very exciting, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, it's midnight and I need to go to sleep. I'm about to crash, but I just finished 10 blind dates and it was so cute. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I will jump back on here first thing in the morning to actually talk it out, since I barely talked about it. I read it so quickly. It was so good. And that marks off my Christmas themed or holiday themed book. So another challenge.
Hey everybody, so it's not first thing in the morning like I said. I've had quite the lazy morning. I actually started another book, which I'll talk about in a second, and my sister and I have been watching Normal People on Hulu, and we watched the last 4 episodes this morning and finished it. Have you read the book and have you seen the show, and what are your thoughts on both? Because I loved the book, but I also really loved the show. I thought it was such a brilliant adaptation, and now I'm just sort of wrecked in the wake of it. Let me know what you think about the book and or show in the comments. So 10 blind dates. I finished it at midnight last night. I loved it. It was so sweet. I will say the person that Sophie is supposed to end up with is obvious from the very beginning, but long before she ever starts going on the blind dates. So it does make the blind dates a little superfluous, because you know none of it's actually going to go anywhere. At least I did. But I'm also not the target audience. Keep in mind that this is YA. It's about a bunch of high school seniors. So maybe if I was a high school senior, I wouldn't have felt it was as obvious as I did. Who knows? But regardless, I loved her family desperately. I loved the Christmassy feel of it. It spans the length of Sophie's Christmas break. So we get Christmas Eve, we get Christmas, we get New Year's Eve. There's like a ugly Christmas sweater party and like just all kinds of festive stuff. And I loved it. It was perfect for this time of year. I loved Sophie. I did end up loving the guy that she ends up with. It just was, it was obvious, like I said, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I gave it 4 stars and checked off my holiday themed book challenge. So this morning I started my 4th book of the readathon, and it is to meet my diverse book challenge, and it's Love in Color. It's by Bolu Babalola, and it is an anthology of short stories retelling great romance-centric myths and legends and folk tales from around the world, bringing them into a more modern context. And it, from the synopsis, says it decolonizes the myths. So basically it's unwhitewashing some of these myths that I've known my whole life, but puts them in a more diverse context, a more true to their origins context. I'm only 3 stories in so far. There are 13 total, but so far I'm really enjoying it. And I'm not much of a short story reader or an anthology reader, so this is an interesting spin, but the cover is stunning. And this actually comes out next year. I have an e-art from NetGalley, but I thought it was a really exciting use of this challenge, and I will let you guys know when I have read a little bit more of it.
It's fair to say that Christmas is a magic day.
Hey, so happy Friday. So I finished first thing this morning, Love in Color, and I loved it, especially for someone who doesn't read anthologies, doesn't read short stories very often, but it was such a fun take, and I'm like a romanceaholic, so I enjoyed an entire collection of love stories, especially where some I was familiar with the source material and some I had never heard of, had no idea where they were going. I just loved it. I will say the ones that were more historical and or speculative were my favorites for the most part over the more contemporary realistic ones, but I gave them all star ratings as I went along. I'm not going to go through all of them, but that way I can tell you what my favorites were. So Adam, Ala Gomeji, which was the last story, which was original. It wasn't based on anything, except that it's based on the author's parents' love story. It actually made me tear up. It was so, so sweet. And then I also really love Naleli, and I like Thisbe a lot. They were all just really good, and it was perfect. And I know it's not like a holiday specific read at all, but something about reading a collection of love stories around Christmas, it worked. So I really enjoyed it. And next up, I am going to start the group book, which is In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I have a very hit or miss history with Christina Lauren's books, but we're gonna give it a go. I have the audiobook of that one from Scribd, so we'll see how it is. Today, I'm hanging out with my mom because I don't work today, even though it's a Friday, I work tomorrow. We might go shopping. We're definitely gonna watch some true crime TV, because that's our thing. And also, has anyone tried the Irish cream cold brew from Starbucks? It's like crack, like maybe even more than the pumpkin cream cold brew. But it's only like a December thing, so you should go get one. All right, I will check back in with you guys later.
Tell me Santa's Christmas all about love. Tell me Santa. In that case, can I have the one that I've been dreaming?
Well, hello there. It is currently 5:20 p.m. and we've had quite the day. My mother and I watched 2 episodes of Dateline. We went to Trader Joe's, we went to Target. I got some spiced chai from Trader Joe's, which I am now drinking in my new mug, which I got at Target. Merry everything. I'm gonna take it to work with me tomorrow, but I thought I'd break it in with a cup of spiced chai, which is absolutely my favorite thing in the whole world. As of like 1 month ago, I had never liked hot tea really, especially not chai. And then someone brought in Trader Joe's spiced chai, which I Googled and apparently is a mellow chai, and chai purists aren't fans, but I love it, so there you go. Anyway, so I'm going to take in the decor I bought at Target for my work desk tomorrow and decorate, so I'll show you the final product, I guess. In the meantime, I have the faux fireplace that's on Netflix on my TV. I have a holiday scented candle lit. I have some Christmas music playing, and I have started my 5th book of the readathon, which is In a Holidays, the group book by Christina Lauren. I started this and read the first chapter without rereading the synopsis since like the first time I ever saw the book on Goodreads. So I had no idea what was happening. And then I had to look up the synopsis so I had any clue what this book was about, and then continue on with reading, starting with the 2nd chapter. So In a Holidays is about May, who goes every year to a cabin in Utah to spend Christmas with her parents who are divorced and her younger brother and 2 other families that are best friends of her parents from college. And one of the people who's there every year is Andrew, who she's been in love with like her whole life, and Andrew's younger brother, Theo. The book opens the morning after Christmas, and May realizes that in an eggnog-induced stupor, she made out with Theo, which she regrets horribly because she's in love with his brother. And the next morning, she realizes everyone knows, including Andrew. Andrew seemingly doesn't care. Whatever, not a big deal. And the couple that owns the cabin announces that they have decided to sell the cabin, so this will be their last year. And it's devastating for everybody. Then May is with her parents and her brother in the car headed back to the airport, and they get into a car accident. Boom, May wakes up on an airplane. It's 6 days earlier, and she's starting over again. And so I guess this is like a Groundhog Day scenario where she's going to live this like stretch of time over and over and over until she gets it right, whatever that entails. I'm here for it, and I'm very cozy. So I'll check in with you guys as I go along.
Hey, good morning. It is Saturday. It's 9:10. I'm a couple minutes early for work. I'm just parked outside in the parking lot. And I wanted to update you on where I am on In a Holidays. I'm about a third of the way in. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I love the family bit. I like seeing how things change each time we live the same day over and over and over with May. I'm enjoying seeing her grow each time, like exponentially, as far as trying to force things into a mold versus going with the flow and seeing what can happen. And I think that's really sort of the goal here. The guy that I assume she's supposed to end up with and that we're supposed to be rooting for, he's kind of boring. We don't know a lot about him, and we're not seeing a lot of him except for through her overactive internal monologue and analysis. So I just don't feel like I really know him enough to be rooting for him and her to get together yet, besides just her wanting it. But it's Christina Lauren, so hopefully that is the element that like really jacks up in the next 2/3 of the book. But I'm gonna go in to work. It's freezing. I turned off my car so it wouldn't make noise, and it's 40 degrees and I have my coat, but very cold. So another day at the library. I'm going to decorate my desk today, hopefully if I have time, with all the stuff that I got yesterday at Target, and I will show you that. Let's do this. Hey, I'm home from work. It's 6:34. So I came home, ate some dinner, chillin'. We're about to watch 10,000 BC. You guys are going to have to tell me, any of you watched 10,000 BC back in the day? It came out when I was in high school. I saw it in the theater twice. I have no excuse. But it's one of those nostalgic things that I love for no reason and am embarrassed by. Anyway, so I finished In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, and I wanted to tell you my thoughts. So I'm currently between star ratings. I don't know if I should give it 3 or 4. I did enjoy it. I read it really quickly, but I thought it was a little weak. The romance specifically, considering it really is a romance, it's very romance-centric, I didn't feel like it was that well developed, and I didn't feel like I ever really got to know the guy. I mentioned in, I think, my last update that I just didn't feel like we were getting to know him really well, and everything was very much about our main character, May, and everything's very in her head and her perceptions of things. So the moments we do have of the two of them together are just very one-sided, and I don't ever really feel like I get what he's thinking and how he's feeling about her and about things. So when they get together, it wasn't like a victory. It was sort of like, okay. And honestly, because the way it's structured, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible and not spoil anything, but because of the way the book is structured, she basically tells him, this is how I feel about you. And he says, oh, really? Total shock. But okay, cool. Let's do this. So it didn't ever feel like, it wasn't friends to lovers in like it developed. It was like one person had this one-sided crush, told the other person, and the other person had never considered it, but then was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. Cool. And they get together. So it didn't really, you know what I'm saying? Am I making any sense? I don't know. So it was cute. I did enjoy it. I really liked the speculative Groundhog Day sort of element to it, and I really liked the cabin and the traditions and the close family friends element. Like, that was all great. The romance was just sort of So is that enough to knock it from 4 to 3 stars? Honestly, I wish I could give it 3.5. Like, I feel like that is what it is. It's a 3.5 star book. But I have read other Christina Laurens that I liked way more that I gave 4. And I've read other books during this readathon I've liked more that I've given 4. So I think I'm going to give this one 3. So that leaves only one book left for the readathon, which is a book with lights on the cover. And I'm not sure if I'm going to start it tonight or tomorrow, but the book I'm going to read for that challenge is Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily, which I am super excited about. I would have said back in the day that Dash and Lily was one of my favorite books of all time. I did not like the second one, 12 Days of Dash and Lily, as much, nearly as much, but I had no idea this third book was even coming out until like last week, and it was already out. And I'm very excited, and it has like bokeh on the cover, so I'm counting it, and we will give that a go. So I will check back in with you once I've started that one.
So beautiful, kissing on a mistletoe's baby with you. I don't need any presents as long as I spend this day with you.
Well, this is my only check-in of today. It's Sunday night. It's 8:50, but I just finished Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily. It's a really quick read, and I actually listened to the audiobook, so it was like 6.5 hours or something, plus I was listening to it on 1.5, but I listened to it throughout the day as I was doing other things, like cleaning house and stuff like that. I have to like formulate my thoughts. I love the first Dash and Lily. I was disappointed with the second one, and I am disappointed with this one. It wasn't bad exactly, but I would say the first 75% of this book were frustrating more than anything else. The characters seem a little out of character, and I'm here for Dash and Lily together. And they're apart basically the whole book, and they keep missing each other, not literally, but like they're not communicating well, they're not understanding each other. It's endlessly frustrating. And they just make stupid choices, like, that I don't understand. So when they finally are together and they're communicating and working things out, I loved it. And I loved being back with them again. And we got some cameos from side characters from the earlier books, even though this one takes place in London instead of New York, which I will say, I missed New York as a character in its own right. I liked London as a setting, but I didn't feel that it had the same presence in this book as New York does in the others. So that's sort of a letdown. But there are some new characters I really enjoyed. I loved, as always, the Christmas elements. And that's about it. That's about all I have to say about it. Honestly, I'm gonna give this one 3 stars.
If I could, I wish for you to spend Christmas here with me.
And that is my final book of the challenge, a book with lights on the cover. So I did complete Tis the Seasonathon in 1 week. Amazing. And I had some really great books and some good books, nothing terrible. That's exciting, and I'm very much in the holiday spirit. So my sister and I are about to watch a Christmas movie. We made a list of Christmas and winter movies to watch between now and Christmas, and we're gonna do that. And that's all from me from Tis the Seasonathon. If you participated in the readathon, I'd love to hear what you read this week and how you fared, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.